All right, welcome back, everybody. So we are back again. We're going to be doing another TrixyBlox Ultimate Survival World reaction. This is number 6. So I'm totally looking forward to watching this. This is hot off the presses. He put it out yesterday. So totally looking forward to watching this with you guys. So let's do it. All right, you guys, you ready for this? Let's do this.
I've spent more than 750 hours upgrading the entirety of Minecraft in the Ultimate Survival World. I'm transforming almost every in-game structure and biome, giving them an insane upgrade, all for you to experience while playing Survival Minecraft. The USW...
All right, so let me just say once again, this guy has done so much work on this. You guys got to go check out his other stuff. Go check out his channel. I mean, he's got tons of subscribers, so I really don't need to be plugging him, but I mean, I'm just amazed at how much he does, and I can't wait till he's finished with this. So all right, let's get back to it.
Is going to be packed full of story, secrets, hidden loot, and loads of exciting extras. All for you to explore in survival mode across a 16 million block
16 million
We've
blocks.
already upgraded all of these biomes and the structures that spawn naturally within them, and even added a bunch of themed custom builds to enhance your experience. Last episode, we ventured into the Mesa, creating a Wild West inspired town.
That was
an entire
beautiful.
Railroad network.
Look at that.
And even a massive
railroad
gold
was
mine.
awesome.
The Mesa and Savannah are quite heavily linked and were meant to be featured in the same video. However, there was so much that needed to be covered, I had to split them up. To tackle the Savannah, we're going to start off by bridging the gap between the two biomes and creating a western ranch on the outskirts.
So I didn't say this in the beginning, but it's because I wasn't sure actually. But so now he's going for the Savannah, and I mean, look at that. It looks like he made a huge skull. But you know, he'll show, of course. We'll get to it, but I just want to say so he's doing the Savannah this time. All right, here we go.
Of the Mesa biome. Then we're going to dive deep into the Wolf Tribe, which will feature Native American inspired housing, totem poles, a chief's hut, and even a large spirit tree.
Oh,
and finally,
very nice.
we'll be finishing things off by creating the enormous Bone Tribe, which is situated within a huge quarry, featuring African inspired huts, the Bone King's Tower, and the skull of a giant primeval creature. Right, I think it's time to upgrade the Savannah. Let's get into it.
Let's do
it. The
Savannah
Savannah tends to be a pretty forgotten biome, and it has definitely been the biome I've received the least ideas for. So I thought we'd do it some justice and create something really special. I can't be sending you guys to sleep now, can I? To kick things off, I of course had to upgrade our Savannah trees, taking inspiration from African acacia trees so we can achieve that classic Lion King horizon. I created a few different variations to keep things nice and organic, eventually removing the vanilla trees and placing our custom ones across the entire biome. I also placed some custom boulder clusters to change up the environment. I really am getting those Lion King vibes now. And as you can see, our environment is now freshly upgraded and ready to be filled with some crazy builds.
Beautiful.
Now, a lot of you guys noticed that I hadn't included a ranch or stables in the Mesa. Don't worry, I didn't forget. Since the Mesa Outlaws have been gradually expanding their territory, their ranch is located on the Mesa-Savannah border, where the land is more fertile and the animals can graze. It's near a train station for easy access, and it's going to contain the ranch hand, Crazy Pete's house, a large barn, the cow's meadow, including the cattle shed, and the stables, including the stable hand's house.
Awesome.
I started by plotting out our cattle field with a custom fence, being sure to make plenty of room for our cows to graze. I also included a classic ranch entrance sign to fit with the rest of the Mesa buildings.
Oh, cool, man.
Before relocating this to the actual entrance of the ranch and plotting out some pathways, along with some colored wool foundation plans for all of the ranch's buildings.
Awesome.
Next up, I tackled Crazy Pete's
how he does
house.
this.
He's got to have a cozy home to relax in after a long day on the ranch. Steph did the interior for this one, and apparently he has a beer tap above his sink rather than a regular tap. I guess that's why she's named him Crazy Pete. Then I whipped up this large barn, building it on a diagonal to keep things from looking too regimented before bringing over a couple of decorations from the Mesa town, including the water pumping windmill and the water tower to accompany it, since we don't want our animals getting too thirsty. They can't survive on beer alone like Crazy Pete.
Nope,
and of course,
beer,
I couldn't forget to add
alone.
in some stables. You guys were sad not seeing them in the Mesa, so of course I wanted to dedicate a part of the ranch to the stables, incorporating the stable hand's house on the end.
Nice.
Now, to finish up our ranch, I created this cattle shed in a classic cartoon-like barn style, with a small outcropping for feeding, as well as another windmill and water tower to make sure the cows' water troughs are kept nice and full.
Oh, I love that, man. That round
roof. A little
roof.
Close to the Savannah. Tensions are certainly rising, but hey, at least the animals are happy.
All right, man. That is beautiful. Great job, like always.
Not too far from the ranch, we're going to be building our wolf tribe, taking some inspiration from the Native Americans.
Okay, beautiful.
Typically, what we often see depicted in movies and stories is based around the Native Americans of the plains. No, not the plains in Minecraft. This plains was between the Mississippi River and the Rocky Mountains. These people were known for dwelling in teepees and wearing elaborate feather bonnets, which I think we all tend to think of as the main symbols of the Native Americans. Now, I love that imagery, but I don't think many people know how diverse the Native Americans were. Historians actually divide them into 10 separate culture areas. They lived in very...
Okay, I just have to say something about what he's saying. It's totally true what he's saying, because when you think of a Native American, you think of the headdresses and, you know, certain things that everybody knows of, but the Native Americans stretched across a lot of land. So, I mean, of course they're going to be diverse depending on the area they are at. So that's cool that he's addressing that. You know what I mean? Awesome. All right, here we go.
Different dwellings and had different cultures depending on where they resided. In the southwest, the environment was much like our USW's Mesa, and the people there lived in mud and stone houses called Pueblos and Hogans. On the flip side, the Inuit and Aleut peoples lived in what is now modern-day Alaska and Canada, in a contrasting environment, living very different lives to the farmers of the plains or the southwest. To somewhat reflect this diversity, I wanted to take inspiration from some of these different building types in the Wolf Tribe's village. Now, the Wolf Tribe originally resided in the Mesa, where their houses were more like the Pueblos and Hogans I mentioned earlier. But you'll hear more about that in the USW movie series.
Alright.
So, for the Wolf Tribe's new home in the savannah, I plan to include teepees, wigwams and wickiups, longhouses, and chickees, all of which have their own really interesting histories attached to them. I'd also be including the chief's hut, the spirit tree, which has a very special story, a communal fire pit area, and even a special camp for the children. To kick things off in a recognizable style, I whipped up a couple of totem poles to sit either side of the Wolf Tribe's entrance, with several different totems carved into the wood. These 3 totems are important symbols for the tribe, but you'll have to wait for the JEFFERSCRAFT movie on this to hear more about what they mean. Anyway, I quickly got to work on the tribe's teepees, creating a few different variations to dot around the camp. I also incorporated some glazed terracotta into my designs, since teepees are traditionally painted with depictions of battles, personal experiences, and even animals. Since I couldn't incorporate actual paintings on the teepees in vanilla Minecraft, I thought the terracotta was a good replacement to add some detail and colour.
Good idea.
For the rest of the tribe's main houses, I whipped up a wigwam and longhouse, which would have typically been viewed as a pretty symbolic building, representing territory being shared across nations. In the USW, the Wolf Tribe's longhouse represents their ancient allegiances with the desert and the jungle. And since our Wolf Tribe is based around a lake, I thought it would be pretty appropriate to include these chickees elevated above the wet ground to provide a cozy, dry dwelling for the villagers. In Native American culture, it was very common for the children to learn the workings of the camp at a young age with first-hand experiences. So I thought it'd be cool to incorporate a mini camp for the Wolf Tribe's children to hang out, where they can learn to tend to the fire, look after animals, grow their own crops, and even practice their archery. And with our various buildings complete, I scattered them across the camp, and now things are really starting to come to life. Remember, all of these buildings will have interiors too. I'm just not going to spoil the surprise, otherwise it will ruin the experience if you want to play the map for yourselves when it releases.
Can't wait,
To guard the front entrance from those pesky Mesa outlaws, I created a couple of basic, stilted watchtowers, peeking up over the large fence to keep an eye out for suspicious visitors. And you also may have noticed the large space that I left at the back of the camp, which is of course for the chief's hut. I was inspired by the wattle and daub style of building for this hut, as I wanted to create something completely different to the rest of the buildings to give the tribe a special place to gather before the chief. I think it actually ended up looking pretty similar to the large Dothraki hut from Game of Thrones, still fitting nicely with the theme of the camp. Just to one side of the chief's hut, I created a communal fire pit area for the villagers to gather around and included a warning bell as well as a small stables to keep a few horses. And to add some finishing touches before tackling the most important part of the camp, I added in some bridges to connect the islands scattered across the winding lake, created some areas for farming crops near the water, built a little fishing dock jutting out into the lake, hung some banners at the entrance in the tribe's very own colours, and finally added in some small totem poles either side of the entrance to the chief's hut. Perhaps even including a hidden booby trap or two to ward off you Minecraft adventurers from seeking entrance to the hut. Now, this tree is not just an important spiritual tree for the wolf tribe, but a fundamental part of the USW's
here's
backstory.
The spirit tree.
You
All
may
right.
remember that the wolf tribe fled to the savannah from the mesa, chasing out the residents of this camp and claiming it as their own, in desperation to escape the mesa outlaws. The original residents were known as the Bone Tribe, who we'll visit later on. The Bone Tribe's healer created magical medicines from plants and bones, and had left behind a mysterious pouch when the wolf tribe took over the camp. The pouch contained a strange powder, and the wolf tribe soon discovered that it made things grow at rapid speed.
Yeah.
It was bone meal.
Bone meal,
The wolf
dude.
tribe believed in a spiritual connection with nature, and in an important ritual, the camp's elders were to plant a sacred sapling to strengthen the tribe's bond to nature and provide them with a special place for future rituals and worship. Realizing that the magical bone meal could bring their spirit tree to life quickly, they used it to grow it to full size. Inadvertently, the camp's elders had created a strong spiritual connection between the wolf tribe and the bone tribe, bringing this bond to life in a magical tree which grew from a combination of important ingredients from each tribe.
Look at the lanterns.
The spirit tree called out to the wolf tribe chief, as well as the elders, encouraging them to reconcile with the bone tribe after they had forced them out of their home. The two tribes were now linked through nature. It was fate that their paths would cross, and if they were to stand a chance against the ever-expanding Mesa outlaws, their alliance was essential. But anyway, I won't give too much away.
Okay, you replaced it with candles. That's all right.
And that's our wolf tribe complete. I love how this turned out, and it's such a unique little area to explore.
That is awesome, man.
I can't wait for you guys to come across it during your Minecraft adventures.
Hell yeah. All right, that looks so good.
And now it's time to head over to the other side of the savannah to find out where the Bone Tribe has got
I'm not surprised,
now this
really.
is where the building gets serious.
All right, so here we go.
We're jumping right in at the deep end here, creating a gigantic quarry for our Bone Tribe to live in. This quarry was used by the Bone Tribe for simply mining resources. But when the Wolf Tribe were forced to seek sanctuary in the savannah, the Bone Tribe fled here. But what on earth did they do with all of this space? Well, first off, we're going to create the huge skull that plays a big part in the Bone Tribe's backstory, which sits smack bang in the middle of the pier. I also plan to include a variety of epic buildings, incorporating the bones discovered in the quarry, including huts, towers, tents, stilted canopies, and even a variety of profession buildings.
Beautiful.
If you've seen the USW movie series, then you'll know that the USW was once home to many primeval creatures, which the first people of the island fought off. The Bone Tribe received their name from their legendary bone armor, forged by their ancestors from a giant primeval creature that they eliminated when it posed a threat to their people. Legend has it that the enormous animal fed...
All right, sorry to interrupt him, his amazing work, but I just wanted to say really quick, he keeps talking about, and I've talked about it too, but he keeps talking about the... basically like the lore, the story behind all of this stuff, and it's on his girlfriend's channel. And I'm just gonna say it again, I'm definitely gonna go watch those. I think there's 2 of them now. They just released another one, so there's 2. And so after this, next week I'm gonna be doing the first one of those, so you guys gotta check it out. Okay, all right, here we go.
Fed the tribe for weeks, and the bones of its body were used to forge their armor, but the skull was never found. And as you can see, the rumors were true after all. Centuries later, the descendants of the Bone Tribe discovered the skull when excavating a large quarry to mine for materials near the savannah's hills, and it became their salvation at their most desperate time of need. Awesome. In fact, the Bone Tribe actually view this giant beast's skull as a sacred blessing from their ancestors. When the Wolf Tribe were chased out of their home by the outlaws that now reside in the Mesa, the Bone Tribe lost their home too. They fled to the quarry, where they'd recently uncovered this gigantic skull, which none of the tribe ever really knew was more than a myth. They hid inside the skull, and it kept them safe, sheltered them from the elements, and concealed them from attackers while they were still vulnerable. It later became the hub for their tribe, and they actually dedicated different parts of the skull to different purposes. For instance, the inside of the creature's cranium is their equivalent to a main headquarters, where the real thinking happens.
That would be a huge beast. But we'll turn to these
dedicated parts of the skull a little later. And with this gigantic skull complete, it's time to place it in the quarry. It makes a pretty epic centerpiece. But what exactly are we going to build, and where? Steph and I spent a long time planning all of the different building types that incorporate bones in an unusual way. From 2-story huts to crazy towers with bone mechanics, we color-coded each structure and decided where to place them across the quarry. This process actually took hours and hours, but it was definitely worth it to make sure everything fitted together coherently. And now for the exciting part, creating these bony buildings, incorporating giant bone and horn supports in as many different ways as possible. For the buildings themselves, I didn't want to use any one specific reference. There is so much variation in African architecture, which we wanted to incorporate into some of our buildings, whilst focusing on coming up with a unique architectural style that suits these crazy surroundings. I did, however, want to make sure that everything was intentional and meaningful. As you know, we love to incorporate plenty of story and symbolism here on the TrixyBlox channel. So we decided to use the colour red as the tribe's main colour, drawing inspiration from the Maasai tribe of Kenya, who wear a vibrant cloth known as a shahuka. Red is considered a sacred colour by the Maasai, also representing blood, and it is the basic colour for all shahuka. Similarly, the Bone tribe adopted the red colour as a warning to potential attackers, but also as a celebration of their sacred home, centred around the skull that saved them from a terrible fate. As you might have noticed, I also incorporated this building, which is actually a mini upgrade of Minecraft's vanilla pillager outpost.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
I wanted to challenge myself to actually downscale a Minecraft structure rather than upscaling it, since the goal here is to transform the entirety of Minecraft after all. So why not try achieving that in different, more challenging ways? We thought it'd be really interesting to combine an ordinary village with some pillager outpost elements. Now this is going to be a village in the map, spawning villagers as opposed to pillagers. But this little pillager reference shows the tribe's fighting spirit and doubles as a mini outpost upgrade for the savannah.
That's cool,
And with the first small buildings finished, I placed them around the quarry, following the color-coded plan that we laid out earlier, and making a few adjustments to the landscape here and there. Now, for our first and most obvious profession building, the armorer. We can't exactly have a tribe fabled for their bone armor without an actual armorer building.
Right.
For this particular building, I took some inspiration from the huts of the Dorza in Ethiopia, incorporating some different elements to ensure the building suits its surroundings and showcases the bone tribe's color. Also, you may notice a cool little bone banner design I started to use around the tribe, which I found on the MC Banner's Instagram page. With the armorer building done, I placed it down before moving on to the healer's hut. Now you may remember me mentioning the healer earlier in this video, and she's a very important part of the tribe. In our world, it is a belief in traditional South African Ndebele society that illness is caused by spells or curses. So there would be a healer to combat these forces, known as a Sangama or Inyaga, depending on their area of speciality. They often use herbs and bones in their rituals, and this is pretty common still. In fact, it's actually estimated that these healers, who are essentially shamans, are about 8 times more common than conventional doctors in South Africa. How cool is that? Now, since our healer primarily uses plants in her practices, her hut is actually our unconventional farmer's building of the tribe. So I created a little area for crops, which the healer uses for her medicines, and a small grazing area for some sheep. I also added these little green and yellow banners, taking further inspiration from the Maasai tribe, who believe that yellow and green colours are said to bring nourishment and growth. The Bone tribe's healer painted these banners herself, placing them around her crop field as lucky charms. It certainly worked, because this is the only fertile land in the quarry. Next up is the cartographer's building, which I used the healer's hut as our foundation for. With these bony buildings, it was really useful to take some inspiration from World of Warcraft's orc buildings, but I also tried to include some original concepts too, and I'm pretty chuffed with how this turned out. I thought it'd be cool to include a lift, taking the cartographer up to the lookout tower, using this rotating bone mechanism at the top to act as a pulley system.
Awesome.
And of course, I had to fiddle with the design a little further once I placed the building, adding an extra little tower at the top to finish it off. Now, our Bone King resides on the left side of the skull in the district where the elders reside. His tower had to be something a little special, so I started with a sturdy base, incorporating bone supports for the main structure and the roof too. I wanted this building to really embrace the Bone tribe's traditions, so I was sure to embed the largest bones of any building in the quarry in its structure, creating a grand tower for the tribe's leader to reside in. I placed the Bone King's grand tower down, connecting it to the Elders district with a bridge. I also created a bridge across to the skull's right eye, as this is where the Elders conduct their rituals, through which they gain insight from their ancestors. Through this path, they can reach their meeting hall based in the cranium, since that's where all the thinking happens. And they can also reach the other eye too, which is the Elders' viewing platform, giving them a view across the rest of the tribe.
It's awesome.
In fact, each part of the skull is used in a way reminiscent of how the creature would have used that part back when it was alive. The eyes represent sight, hence the rituals and viewing balcony. The mouth contains a grand feasting hall, and the head contains the Elders' headquarters. But I won't spoil those, and you'll soon see what the nose is used for.
Something
I
we
thought it
get
would
to
make
see
sense to add
later.
one final profession building, the stonemason. I just built a deep slate foundation for the Bone King's tower and realized that it made a lot of sense for the stonemason to have a similar building style. So I whipped up this round, bony mini tower, which is clearly built from deep slate carved by the stonemason himself.
Nice.
I set the stonemason's building down in its pre-planned spot before adding in some more bridges, an elevator, finalizing some platforms, and placing pathways. And of course, our bone tribe needs some protection at its front entrance. So I created a large, square watchtower to sit either side of the grand entrance, incorporating a spiky, menacing design, as well as some bones and red banners to tie into the rest of the tribe.
That looks good.
I then placed down the watchtower either side of the entrance as planned, incorporating these huge bones to frame the entrance, almost like you're walking through part of a rib cage when entering the quarry. Next, I add a little protection around the front with a fence, the same one as the fence from the wolf tribe. I mean, it was originally the bone tribe's fence before they were pushed out after all. The wolf tribe didn't even build it, so I think we can forgive them for using it for their new home. Now, to tick another Minecraft structure off our transformation list, I decided to create some smaller scale skulls and some rib cages, recreating vanilla Minecraft fossils to act as some decoration for our bone tribe.
Oh, cool,
I created two smaller skull variants, a large rib cage, as well as a campsite, some market stalls for the tribe's trading, a few fire brazier variants, and of course some rock and ore piles, since this is a quarry after all. After coming up with these decorations, I dotted them around the quarry, even creating a rib cage camp at the quarry floor. I also thought that it'd be cool to flip the rib cage up the other way, to create a more sheltered outdoor area next to the Bone King's tower. Now he and the elders can enjoy their garden parties, whatever the weather. It's really crazy how much this quarry comes to life with all the final decorations, especially the fire braziers. But to add a little more functionality for the Bone Tribe folk, I dotted some cranes around, making it easier for all the heavy materials to be hauled around the various levels of the quarry. And to add a few more details, I whipped up some canopies for supplies and added a couple of camps just past the quarry border, where the tribe's hunters and foragers are stationed. And last but not least, we're finally discovering what the tribe uses the skull's nose for. When the tribe were forced to flee their home by the wolf tribe, which was really all thanks to the outlaws, the tribe hid inside the skull. When they lit their first fire, it was fundamental to their survival, and the camp kept that fire alight no matter what. Okay. The elders ordered that the two things that had enabled their survival should be unified, and that the flame of the great fire should never dwindle. The fire now resides in the skull's nostrils as a constant beacon of hope, said to breathe life into the camp. The tribe also tells stories from the Great Fire's smoke, including the tale of their ancestors' epic battle with the giant creature, whose skull provides the foundation to their tribe today. The camp's designated firekeepers keep the flame alive, which is actually not dissimilar to the traditions of the Himba tribe, situated in Namibia. Their holy fire is called the Okaruwa, which they must keep burning, the smoke of which they believe connects them to their ancestors.
Wow, that's cool,
man.
To
add the final touches, I scattered some grass, trees, and rocks around the edge of the quarry to blend things with the rest of the biome nicely. And that just about wraps up our bone tribe. This is probably one of the most unique builds in the entire USW, and definitely makes for an epic spot for an adventure. So let's take a look at everything that we've built in our upgraded savanna biome.
I love it. Once again. Wow, that's so cool. This guy does an amazing job. Ooh, look at it at night too. So good looking.
And that's all for today, guys. Thank you for the support, and don't forget to like the video so that we can hit the 300k like goal. Remember.
All right. So I'm gonna end it right there, guys. Man, once again, put your hands together for TrixyBlox. Yay. But so hey guys, it's been amazing. Thanks for watching this with me, and I will be back next week, next Wednesday, with right there in the upper corner, JEFFERSCRAFT. We're gonna be watching the first episode of they call it the Minecraft movie. Basically, it's the lore behind this ultimate survival world build. Okay, so yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Have a good afternoon. Oh, let me say this: don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Peace.